Good morning. How are you? Well, it's a nice day out. I'm out a little earlier because I want to get out before the rain, and so I get my reward on the trail before I do my work today. It's especially nice today. I crossed someone on the trail. We were 6 feet apart. Very nice fella. Had a small dog, and it's sort of like shared humanity. You get a chance to talk to another human at a distance as you go by, and that's what we miss. The empathy. We are political and social animals, and we thrive with that relationship, which raises the question of what kind of a person is Officer Chauvin out in Minnesota, who seems to have no empathy, no feeling of humanity for a person of color in this case. But then there are people who are that way with people of differences, if you will, national origin, sexual orientation, you name it. They can find a basis in hate, and at the same time, there are these faux Christians who tell us that the good book tells them what to do, but plainly not the Sermon on the Mount where Matthew's talking about how we should turn the other cheek. That's not who our boy Chauvin is, not at all. So how do I think it's going? I think the prosecution has a strong case, and I think he's made it, and I'm very happy with the content and the force and the emotion that's derived from the witnesses we've had so far. Quite precise. I have more of a problem with how he handles the defense when it cross-examines witnesses. He allows, in my opinion, at some risk of erosion of his case over 3 weeks, questions that are not just leading, they're conversational, they're irrelevant, kind of the what-if questions. So tell me, Mr. Williams, you do wrestling and you do chokeholds, and that's a sport, right? So he's trying to build the argument that chokeholds are okay, even though prohibited, a lot of them, ever since Eric Gardner died because of the chokeholds that I think were decided prohibited even in his case. So to let that go on is a mistake. And yes, he did come back and he said, so there wasn't any ability to tap out, was there? No. And that was a good point. But then there's a delay between the argument and it's sitting in people's minds. And that's why using the rules of evidence are important. There's another young lady went into burning buildings, and she was, attacked for as if she didn't know what she was doing. Now, she was resourceful and intelligent, and so she defended herself. And the prosecutor may think that's enough. That's dangerous because people who are citizens, if you will, and are not professional witnesses, this is difficult sledding for them. So I think that there should be more objections. Now, when I was a puppy prosecutor, a deputy who was friendly with me said, do you want me to sit in with you? And I said, well, I think that'd be fun. And he said, well, I'm not going to try the case. I'll just sit there at counsel table with you. I said, okay. And I thought it would be a good idea. Well, one of the things he did that was helpful, and he may have done other things, don't get me wrong, was he gave me a list of 8 objections. And he said, I'm going to point to one of those, and you're on your feet shouting that objection. I said, okay. Then what? He said, well, then you're on your own. And that was a way to connect the objection in thought with the action of making it known to the judge. And then over time, you decide, well, I have an objection, but I'm not going to make it because he's going to ask a question and get an answer that's helpful to the prosecution. Or if the roles are flipped, it's the same principle. So we don't see enough of that in this case. And if the only way right now the defense can, quote, win this case is by having a hung jury, they're targeting 1 or 2 jurors that they saw something in when they got them on the jury that others may not have seen, and they're hoping they're the ones who are going to be holdouts. So that's the peril of not trying a case even one that you consider a lock. And we've only had a couple of days of testimony. Where it's going to get messier is going to be the fight with experts down the road. And the opening suggests that they have very strong expert testimony that's going to say there isn't anything health-wise that brought this man down. Chauvin brought him down. Chauvin killed him. Chauvin did it. So my cautionary tale hopefully will only be a caution that won't be borne out by the results of the trial. Second thing on the agenda, I think, is what is it about citizens? They have no discipline. They won't wear masks. The pandemic's getting worse again. People are not taking the vaccine. We're burdened by an ignorance of science and by a lack of discipline and resolve to do the right thing, not just for the individuals, but for all of us. We have a stimulus package which is going to be very helpful to people to sustain themselves while some don't get it. There's another stimulus package going up, and this is a strict stimulus package. Those of you who think about economics at all probably remember John Maynard Keynes, who came up with a theory in, I think it was 1936, and some call it pump priming. He never did. But the theory was that our productivity is the sum of consumer spending, investment, and government spending. And the value of government spending is that there is some multiple in the economy as a result of government spending. And therefore that stimulates the economy, while at the same time building bridges and highways and restoring our infrastructure. So it's a twofer in a way. Now, we don't often talk about the fact that Keynes was talking about reducing taxes so that that would stimulate investment, another CIG, and consumer investment, government spending. But this is putting $2.25 trillion into the economy. So I'm all for this. The Republicans, they have several reasons to be against it, including the people who bring them to the dance are on Wall Street, and they don't want to pay for this with taxes. So it's a beautiful day. It's going to rain. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Be well. Bye-bye.